Council Public Forum. The Public Forum is an opportunity to share your views on any issues on the Council meeting agenda and on other general matters that are important to you. It provides an opportunity for councillors to hear directly from the community, understand the needs and concerns of constituents, and make more informed decisions. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's public forum. I would like to remind everyone this is a public forum and we must all be respectful of each other. I remind councillors of their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Act and printed at the front of the business paper. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. This meeting is being recorded and the webcast will be published to Council's website. Councillors, council staff and speakers will be shown on camera. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleged breaches of the Council Code of Conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. Any statements made and actions taken by individuals are those of the individuals making them and are not endorsed or supported by Council. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during the forum. Councillors and council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have about any item of business that is on the agenda this evening. A few reminders for our speakers this evening. Speakers cannot use or present any props, audio or visual material. Any written material must be lodged when registering or handed to staff. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address council. A chime will sound when you have 30 seconds left to speak. If you have a lot to say, I encourage you to submit a written submission. Each councillor may ask a maximum of 2 questions. Speakers are under no obligation to answer, but if you do, please limit it to 1 minute. Speakers cannot ask questions of councillors or council staff. Okay, are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? And if we could just double check online. I think we have 1 councillor online. No? No conflicts? Okay, we have a number of speakers and items on the agenda this evening. So I will start with the first speaker. We also have 1 written submission who will also be speaking to the agenda item this evening. So our first item is GB1. We have Janet Harwood speaking for, and the topic is the Draft Community Strategic Plan, Resourcing Strategy, Delivery Program and Operational Plan. And if you wouldn't mind, Janet, you are speaking again after that, so can you just stay at the lectern? Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I've only just this evening realised how helpless the councillors are, because decisions that impact the protection of this local government area are really not in their hands. This first GB1, this report is finally moving Ku-ring-gai in a future-proof direction. But a problem is spotted. The key community concern in the strategic plan was the local government area's environment and concern about development impacting it. However, in the report, the State of Ku-ring-gai report and internal decision-making report does not align with the concerns of the community. In late 2024, managers shifted concerns to the housing strategy rather than environmental concerns. This also happened in 2020 with the local strategic planning statement. Many volunteers know that the pattern of overdevelopment has continued since 2003 by internal choices taking more development than the local government area needs. We are trapped because there are no records such as this that the community made in 2004 to 2008. There's nothing like it now. There are no records to give councillors a picture of the overall damage that is happening. Nothing is protected. In Ku-ring-gai's local government area, environment is under planning since 2009. But the Department of Planning refused protection for lands of high ecological value back in 2003. Councillors, bushland is not a recreational facility asset class, which it became in 2013. The asset management strategy must protect the remaining ecological integrity by adding natural assets to accounting books. It is critical biological infrastructure. Is that the end?
Yes,
3
that's
minutes.
the end. Thank you. Do councillors have any questions? No. Okay, Janet, so we have GB6, which I believe you'll be speaking against the urban
Yes.
forest policy updates.
Was this policy adopted on the 18th of March by councillors, as we are told on the document, or is something being confused? This forest is urban forest is a matter of national environmental significance, MNES. It belongs to the future. So the protection and governance of it must be questioned, and questions must go to state and federal government. Sorry, but this update is missing certain factors. First, why is urban forest policy not updated to stop the epidemic of tree loss? The policy does not help councillors and community with the local government area's massive tree removal problem in endangered urban forest. Second, how is tree management assessment allowed to remove protected trees from the MNES, Matters of National Environmental Significance, without being fined? Third, where does tree assessment sit in an organizational chart? Is the Environment Department independent of the planning and development system? Can local protectors protecting trees be protected by this policy? Fourth, why does the policy allow removal of the entire tree? So when volunteers refer to a protected tree and the stump is gone, tree management can say, which tree? Fifth, urban forest strategy and policy are not in line with the local government area's environmental significance. Protection, which was removed, as mentioned earlier, in 2003 and in 2009, that protection continues to be removed by loopholes, causing irreversible loss of the double significance of Ku-ring-gai's value to the future. Without an environment committee for 15 years, the damage to this local government area has become a game of sorts, and this will not protect the future. Can we save our last best forest for the future? Not with this policy. Is that it?
You've got 5 seconds, Janet.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
I'll forfeit the 5 seconds.
We'll give you an extra 5 seconds next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is GB8. We have 4 speakers speaking against on the post-exhibition consideration of submissions, draft affordable housing policy, and we have Jem Pathanki. So thank you for promptly getting up to the lectern, Jem.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. I'm a representative of the Ku-ring-gai Housing Group and Better Renting, and I'm speaking in relation to item GB8, the affordable housing policy. The Ku-ring-gai Housing Group is particularly concerned about the flight of essential workers that commute hours each way and each day from suburbs far away. Affordable housing provides affordable rental options for essential workers, our youth, single parents and pensioners, allowing them to stay in close proximity to the area they work and to their family. It is important to bear in mind that the kind of occupations that would make use of affordable housing are teachers in our local schools, police that keep our homes and streets safe, the nurses that care for the sick, aged care workers, disability support workers, grocers, plumbers and electricians. New South Wales as a state has about 6,000 affordable housing properties out of 3.5 million dwellings and 1.4 million rentals. That is 0.1% of all dwellings in New South Wales and 0.4% of all rentals in New South Wales. The insufficient supply of affordable housing choices disproportionately impacts women experiencing domestic and family violence who have no choice but to move outside the area, disrupting their support and community network. Now, Ku-ring-gai Council is late to the party, but it is better late than never, and I commend the leadership of Mayor Christine Kay, current councillors and council staff for getting us to this stage. I want to speak now about the plan that is being recommended to Council, and I'm focused on casting light on its shortcomings rather than extolling its virtues. First, the policy should explicitly say that Council will accelerate DAs that propose 10% affordable housing or more, bringing them to the front of the queue. Developers consistently cite Council delay as one of the greatest impediments to their project success. Second, the policy should say that vacant and underutilised land and property will be targeted for development. Third, and most importantly, there is no minimum mandated affordable housing contribution. Instead, an aspirational target of 10% is proposed. Ku-ring-gai Council should amend the policy to provide for the passage of a local environment plan, or LEP, requiring a minimum 10% affordable housing contribution on all developments above 2,000 square metre gross floor area. This has significant consequences for TOD-zoned areas, which are conspicuously absent in the policy. Section 156 sub 4 of the State Environmental Plan, or SEP, requires a minimum of 2% affordable housing for developments with more than 2,000 square metre gross floor area. But that notes that it is in addition to any other environmental planning instrument or planning agreement. What that means is, without a mandatory 10% minimum in a LEP, the current policy condemns each development to negotiate on affordable housing one by one, and it compels Ku-ring-gai Housing Group to attend and speak at every council meeting where a development application proposes a contribution of less than 10%. And I know in time you will come to find this face wary upon the eyes. Developers will always cry unfeasible, unviable, impossible, but we have not seen development grind to a halt in neighbouring Willoughby, which has a 10% minimum. And nothing I've said is particularly controversial, and I'm confident that most informed residents would agree.
Thank you, Jen.
Apologies for going over.
Our next speaker is Joe Carolus, also representing the Ku-ring-gai Housing Group and speaking against.
Good evening, and again, on behalf of the Ku-ring-gai Housing Group, I wish to congratulate Council on bringing the affordable housing policy to the table, and especially to thank Mayor Christine Kay and other councillors who have worked persistently for this over the last 5 years or more. Tonight I rise to ask questions we have about the policy for which we have not been able to find answers. Our first question: how many affordable housing dwellings does Council calculate its affordable housing policy will yield, and over what period? Secondly, why are the Todd precincts specifically excluded from the policy when other councils, like Willoughby and Hornsby, are working to include them? And the South Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils has in fact created a template for including affordable housing in the Todd precincts and has made this freely available to all councils. And further to this, doesn't Council, by extending the Todds from 400 to 800 metres from stations, double the area from which affordable housing is excluded? Our fourth question: the policy states that Council will adopt measurable targets. Will these targets be measured by the number of additional affordable housing dwellings provided, or by the number of low-income residents housed, and over what period? Or if they're not those, then what measure will they use, and will Council report annually on its achievement of its goals? Fifthly, when does Council plan to introduce the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme referenced in section 11.1 of the policy? Will this be in time to override the appalling 2% minimum in the Todd? And finally, I want to ask Council, how serious are you about the affordable housing policy? I'm concerned by some of the wording in the policy. For example, it says Council will seek to achieve these goals. Council is dedicated to achieving them. Council will strive to achieve them. It's very different from, say, the Willoughby. In Willoughby, they say Willoughby Council requires. That's their affordable housing policy. I know what that means because I've been Willoughby Council when a developer was refused its application because it had stuck to the old 4% and hadn't attained the 10%. And Council in Willoughby voted unanimously against that developer because it wanted its 10%. Is this the kind of seriousness that Council is going to bring to these questions? I hope you'll do better than merely seek. Thank you.
Joe, just quickly, if you wouldn't mind sending those questions through to me or to the staff, and we're happy to answer those for you. Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Samantha Bing, who is also representing the Ku-ring-gai Housing Group and speaking against GB8.
Good evening, councillors, mayor, council staff and community members here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for developing this draft affordable housing policy. It is a much needed and welcome step for Ku-ring-gai. Our community desperately needs more inclusive and affordable housing options to support essential workers and vulnerable residents. That said, this policy still has significant room for improvement, and I'd like to respectfully ask a few questions tonight. First, while the Council has set a 10% affordable housing target for Provident-led rezonings, there is no clear target for Council-led developments, and I'm wondering why not lead by example with stronger mandatory contributions in Council's own strategic planning. We would love to see a much higher percentage of affordable housing overall. The draft policy itself acknowledges the need for affordable housing is expected to increase, and that the true shortage of affordable dwellings has also increased. If that's the case, shouldn't we be aiming for at least 10% as a minimum mandatory contribution in appropriate areas? Secondly, the 2% contribution rate for the Todd contradicts what's earlier stated as 10%. Given the scale of the housing need in our area, is 2% really enough? What evidence supports that this is an effective benchmark, and why is the Todd excluded from the affordable housing policy? Third, the policy lacks clear performance goals. How many affordable homes in this policy actually are we aiming to deliver, and over what time period? Without clear targets, how will the community know if the policy is working? Next, the target professions identified are too narrow. I strongly recommend Council to expand this list to include ambulance and paramedics, commercial cleaners, cultural workers, educational aides, hospitality workers, social workers, transport drivers, and welfare support workers. These are also the people who keep our community functioning, and they deserve to live here too. On housing diversity, I urge Council to ensure dwellings mixes reflect real need, especially the 2-to-1 ratio of 1 to 2 bedroom homes, and to advocate for some larger family-friendly dwellings where possible. And finally, a key issue: affordability must be meaningful. I ask Council to consider committing to setting rents at no more than 30% of household income. This is a standard many councils and affordable housing providers use already. This policy is a good starting point, but Ku-ring-gai can do more and should do more. Let's ensure that this policy becomes a policy that truly delivers homes for the family and the people who need them most. We have the opportunity to be a leader in affordable housing, but here we are in 2025 and we're only on our first draft. So let's make this a policy we can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Oh, we have a councillor that's got a question, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much for coming tonight and sharing your views. I would be happy to get some answers to those questions if you would like to send them through to me.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you. Our next, Councillor Devlin's also, he was a bit slow putting his slide on, I must admit.
Sorry.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Samantha. The rent setting portion of paragraph within the draft policy does have it set, the rent set at 30%.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Any more questions from councillors? No. Okay. Thank you, Samantha. Our next speaker is Peter Tulip, and Peter will also be speaking against GB8.
Thanks. So my name is Peter Tulip. I've been a resident of Roseville for 12 years. I've had a long career writing and publishing research about housing policy. Currently I'm at the Centre for Independent Studies, and before that I was at the Reserve Bank of Australia, but I'm here in a personal capacity. I want to discuss the proposal that 10% of new housing be affordable. I think I agree with the values and objectives of both the report and the speakers from the Ku-ring-gai housing group, but fundamentally disagree with the proposal. And whereas the previous speakers wanted to strengthen it, I would like to abandon it completely. I think this proposal is counterproductive. It's well-meaning, but it will actually hurt the low and middle income renters that it's trying to help. Affordability requirements are a tax on development. They make construction less profitable, and as a result they reduce the supply of marginal projects. And with lower supply, the overall cost of housing will increase. It's like any other housing in that respect, is like any other market. You reduce supply, you increase the price. So a few lucky beneficiaries will benefit, while housing becomes less affordable for everyone else. And that means that key workers that we're trying to help will actually continue moving out of the area. What I'm saying isn't just theory, this is based on solid evidence. There's a lot of research on this topic that the council report seems to be completely unaware of. Cities around the world have imposed affordability requirements like this, and again it's led to a contraction in supply and an increase in rents. Portland in Oregon and Seattle in Washington are probably the two most recent prominent examples that have been well documented, but there have been a lot of others. And in a survey of all the examples of what the Americans call mandatory inclusionary zoning, Emily Hamilton of the George Mason University found that it, quote, "it hurts more than it helps," unquote. There's another survey of the study by Shane Phillips of the UCLA in Los Angeles. He estimates that for every below market unit produced by inclusionary zoning. It reduces market rate production by 4 units. So it worsens affordability for everyone except the lucky lottery winners. If council does want to help the low and moderate income earners, the overwhelming thrust of the research is that it should do so by approving more housing, in particular density at train stations, as the New South Wales government is proposing. And putting a requirement on top of that, that housing be affordable, is counterproductive. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Our next item is NM2, and that is the Norman Griffiths Oval, a way forward with regard to cost, value and risk. Our first speaker is online, so via Zoom, which is Stephen Bowden, who will be speaking against. Oh, our speaker is, oh. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. If you maybe just want to provide your name. Yeah. Jason. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Are you also speaking against?
I'm just reading out Stefan's
Oh, okay.
script, so
Okay,
I'm not
no
actually
worries.
participating myself.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, councillors and staff. I'm speaking as a parent and under 10 Mustangs boy manager for West Pymble Football Club. I'd like to respectfully present the case for why these investments are not only justified but essential for the long-term social and economic well-being of our area. 1. Public health and well-being. At a time when public health is a growing concern, especially among young people, access to quality sports facilities is critical. An AstroTurf surface encourages consistent physical activity, which helps combat rising levels of obesity, mental health and challenges, and lifestyle-related diseases. I've spoken to health professionals who agree. These facilities offer a year-round solution, usable even in poor weather conditions, ensuring continuity and safety. As a manager, the previous season was significantly disrupted, and in all honesty, I, along with others, considered registering outside of the area. 2. Youth engagement and social development. Structured football programs provide positive outlets for youth energy and creativity, keeping them engaged in productive and goal-driven activities. Clubs teach discipline, teamwork and leadership, skills that extend far beyond the pitch. This is a proactive investment in reducing antisocial behaviour, promoting strong moral and social foundations. 3. Community cohesion. Clubs act as social hubs, uniting people across age groups, backgrounds and beliefs. They strengthen the fabric of our community, offering a place where inclusion, friendship and mutual respect flourish. Football events, tournaments and local leagues created shared experiences that foster pride and local identity. 4. Talent development opportunity. Investing in grassroots creates opportunity for all those participants. 5. Economic benefits. While there is an upfront cost, the return on investment is significant and will last for decades. 6. Durability and cost efficiency. Synthetic pitches require less maintenance than natural grass, are longer lasting and withstand heavy use, making them a practical choice for high traffic community use. Over time, this reduces the overall cost of maintenance and ensures a safer playing surface for users of all ages. To sum up, the question should be not whether we can afford these facilities, but whether we can afford to go without them. This is not just about football. It's about creating a stronger, healthier and more connected community. I urge you to consider the long-term benefits, not just the immediate costs. These are investments other councils have made in their people and community. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Doesn't look like there's any questions. Our next speaker is Sarah Plant, who is representing the West Pymble Football Club and speaking for NM2. That's right, take your time.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Having been involved with discussions regarding the necessity for a synthetic pitch at Norman Griffiths for almost 2 decades, I'm delighted to have finally seen some progress in the past couple of years, and I'm very much looking forward to getting out on the field when it's completed. As a player, a manager, a club official and a life member, I know just how central this project is to the 1,000 West Pymble players and their families, as well as the 20,000 plus NSFA players and their families. Football is the fastest growing sport in Australia and accounts for more players than all the other winter codes put together. The question I'm asked constantly by players and officials from other clubs is, when will NG be finished? Last weekend, as my various teams took to the field for the first time in 2025, it occurred to me that not one of the teams I'm involved with has been able to play a game in the first or sometimes even the second round for several years now. Indeed, due to the lack of an all-weather pitch at Norman Griffiths, most of our teams have had virtually no pre-season in which to get fit or even to get to know each other. Our lack of a home field that can adequately cater for the club's needs has impacted every team from under 6s to over 55s. We all want to get back to our clubhouse, to stand on our field, and watch our children, friends and partners play. But I'm actually really here to talk about female football and the significance of the synthetic pitch to the girls and women who play. Female football is not about kicking a ball on a Sunday. Our club motto is friendship, fun and fitness. It's about being part of a team, a club and a community. It's about the importance of sport to the mental and physical health and well-being of girls and women. Sundays on the field provide us all with the chance to check in with each other, to make and maintain connections and to take a break from life in general. Female players often say, "This is the only time I have to myself." It's all too easy to put other things ahead of taking time for ourselves. And without a synthetic pitch at Norman Griffiths, it's the women who will miss out most. Because we play on Sundays, there's no wriggle room to make up games if our games are cancelled because fields are closed. In council areas with synthetic fields, female players average 18 games per season and 100% chance to train on a weekly basis. In areas without enough synthetic fields, female players may only get 12 to 14 games per season at best, and sometimes cannot complete their season at all. Over the past few seasons, we at West Pymble have only managed less than 50% of our weekly training times, and we do actually get to train. We're squeezed for space and at risk of injury from the parlous state of the field. Mimosa is living proof that you cannot expect a club of 1,000 players to train and play on a grass field. The pitch cannot cope, and not a single week goes by without someone sustaining some sort of injury caused by the playing surface. The completion of the synthetic pitch at Norman Griffiths would make this a thing of the past. Thank you very much.
We just have one question, Sarah. Councillor Matt Devlin.
Not as slow this time, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much, Sarah, for making the effort with your cast. But towards the end there, I just wanted to make a note, and if you could clarify for me, are you suggesting that there is correlation between natural surface and between a synthetic surface over a natural surface in the provision of equity in women's sport?
I think there is, yeah, because certainly, well, with regard to the NSFA, we play on Sundays, so when we're rained out, we don't get to play any other time for make-up games because Sundays is when they put all the other make-up games for all the other teams. And so we can't play on a Saturday, we can't play on a Friday. So if we miss out on Sundays, it's the women who miss out.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Our next speaker is Kevin Johnson, who is representing the Northern Suburbs Football Association and will be speaking for NM2.
Madam Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor, councillors and members of the community. Speaking here tonight about this project, it's been going on quite a while. Actually started when the clubhouse renovation at Norman Griffith commenced in March 2012, and formally the geotech report was completed in October 2015. So we are coming up to formally the 10 years. That we do thank current councillor and former Mayor Spencer for signing the contract during, probably appropriately named or appropriately called 3.5 month, somewhat eventful term as Mayor, and we're very grateful for that. I was actually up at George Christie Park or Reserve on Saturday. We're looking to get some increased capacity there. And I noted that that was actually named after a former mayor as well. There was a mayor here in the late 20s and early 30s. The real issue here, I think, is around sports ground capacity, and the NESROC report from November 2023 says that we need a 49% increase in sports ground capacity by 2036 to cope with expected increased demand for sporting fields. Now, that was before TODS and the recent planning proposals. So we've got to come up with these new fields somehow. Members of the West Pymble community and myself, we're very much pro-environment. And in fact, you know, the West Pymble community, when they put the lights on Norman Griffith Oval, they planted the trees that are at the Loftberg Road into the ground, and that's now a protected tree area. So to that end, synthetic pitches, we get over 4 times the usage throughout a calendar year relative to natural grass pitches. That's the equivalent of having to clear bushland and trees for three additional fields. Instead, we can get that same capacity increase by putting a synthetic field on an existing pitch. So very much, you know, we think that Norman Griffith is the ideal location. There are a lot of environmental benefits from synthetics. The organic infills are being used now, which can be used as garden mulch. They're 100% recyclable. There's an opportunity for water repurposing. The grass and hybrid pitches, even the best ones, and I've looked at this closely, you know, you only get 30, absolute maximum 35 hours per week out of them compared to, you know, up to 60 plus on synthetics. My understanding as well is that it would be more costly to convert Norman Griffith back to grass. We've got a challenge here, you know, with sports field capacity. We need to do things like install lights on grounds, come up with more capacity from other areas, but certainly you know, the installation of synthetic pitches in strategic locations is key. We're nearly there. My understanding, we're over about 80% of the way there. Members of the West Pymble community tell me the contractor wants to complete it ASAP. So I say, you know, let's get on and complete what will be a fabulous community project for decades to come. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a question for you, Kevin, from Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thanks for coming along, Kevin, and sharing your view. And I think I would very confidently say that Council is very aware of the need for greater capacity of all of our facilities, not just sporting facilities and ovals, and that is a key opportunity for us this term. My question for you is actually related to the previous speaker, and are you able to comment on gender equity in sporting facilities and particularly that issue around Sundays and football?
Yeah, absolutely. So we prioritise, Sundays is traditionally the day for female football, and we prioritise female football on the best pitches over, you know, make-up games for boys or men's matches. Our member base, we've got about 27% of our member base are female players now, and that's growing consistently. Last year we grew by over 15%. It was well announced during the World Cup. There was a $200 million federal government fund around female amenities and making them more appropriate. And that's something certainly we're keen to work with council to do. Just so you know, we've got a lot of affirmative action policies in place at the NSFA. We conduct female-only coaching courses, female-only referee courses. 50% of our social media is for female football. And we've got a desire, which matches the Football Australia and Football New South Wales strategies, to reach 50% participation by females in our member base. So we go, I believe, you know, an extra mile, you know, for female football. That scheduling is a slight disadvantage because they play on Sunday. Last year when it was wet, we were able to do a lot of midweek make-up games and some Friday games, and we do prioritise some Friday night games for female football, given that they don't have that extra weekend day for make-up games.
There's just one more question for you from Councillor Matt Devlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Kevin, for coming up and speaking tonight. There was a point in there where you referred to the community's understanding or awareness around the percentage of project completion. It's also referred in a letter that was distributed by the president of West Pymble Football Club on Sunday afternoon to what it appears to be all members of the NSFA, the leadership of several clubs throughout the NSFA. It also refers to in writing that the project is well over 80% complete. What you would not be aware of is that there was a briefing to councillors about that, and I'm not entirely sure where this 80% comes from. Can you speak to where that number has arisen from?
Look, I can't talk to the source of that number. My understanding, and look, there's a lot of members of the West Pymble community who sort of go down to the Oval and talk to the people on it. So I imagine it's probably come from that kind of source. But look, my understanding is that it's very well advanced, or certainly closer to completion than starting. But yeah, I can't speak for the club president who wrote that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. It doesn't look like there's any more questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next speaker is Scott Waugh, who is representing the West Pymble Football Club, speaking for. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for letting us come and talk again today. I'm obviously talking for this amendment, the motion, on the basis that it's about getting it right and getting it done. Yes, there's all the comments that have already been made on cost and time that it's taken, but getting it right is super important, and getting it done is absolutely imperative. What we know is, it started more than 10 years ago. 5 years ago, we were all here celebrating when unanimously the council voted to go ahead and do the job. 3 years ago, production started. And if I look at my son, he's played football for 7 years. 4 years of those he was playing at Norman Griffith. The last 2 seasons and now this season, he's not playing there, and he's asking what's going on. Why? How do I answer to my son that it hasn't been done right and completed yet in 3 years? If anyone can give me that answer, would be really awesome. When we come to delays, when it started, I was really surprised that someone told me the swimming pool just around the corner took 3 years. Was a 1 year build, took 3 years. The rugby field was a 1 year build, took 3 years. Norman Griffith was a 3 to 6 month build, and it's looking like 3 years. What we would like to ask of council is to do exactly what this says, get it right, but please get it done. When it comes to costs, everything costs. Delays have created costs. Inflation has been crazy, as we all know. How much is due to that? How much is due to the court case that the residents all had to pay for to defend against the people from members of the certain parts of the community that sued the council to try and stop it? How much of that money have we tried to recover from those people to reduce the cost of this project? I believe the answer is 0. So we can talk about costs, we can talk about delays. What we really want is to get it right and get it finished so people can come and play. For the last 3 years, I've spent multiple hours trying to convince and help teams, 60 plus teams, train on Mimosa, where we have 4 nights a week, and Comanara Oval, where we have 2 nights a week. And they are bumping into each other. We've had to sit in and mediate discussions between coaches who say, I need more space, no, I need more space, no, I need more space. The impact to the community has been far more than what's been said tonight, just with people wanting to actually get in and do the job, which is have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Doesn't look like there's any questions for you. Our next item will be general business. We have 3 speakers on general business. Our first speaker is Janet Harwood, speaking on the topic of protect future by reversing loss of public assets caused by the game of mates. Go ahead, Janet.
Madam Mayor, councillors, I gave Christopher a folder for each of the councillors because, as I said before, it's very difficult to protect an area. We're almost too late to do that. And I want to add this to the decline in biological abundance. And biological abundance in this local government area is most important to protect for the future. 3 minutes is not enough for this topic, but Tim Flannery's book, After the Future, has answers which will help to U-turn to make protection a new business. We are in a biodiversity and climate emergency, but most people don't understand the complex implications involved. It's not the economy, but the environment we must protect for the future. Otherwise, there will be no economy or society. The law is not protecting the environment. Volunteers are. Volunteers spend their own money to protect future public assets. Decision makers can only listen to the problem. It's very difficult to actually protect. Hillview Precinct, Sheldon Forest, Tarahumara Village Park, the Biodiversity Rail Corridor, and protected trees are all public assets. Ku-ring-gai is a microcosm of the Australian problem. The Australian problem of biodiversity decline means that we all have custodial responsibility to protect botanical and zoological inheritance. That's fauna and flora. And where to protect it best? In environmentally sensitive areas. But to do that, eco-literacy is needed. To do that U-turn to protect. And it's not just environmentally sensitive development, but ecologically sustainable survival economics that is needed. As said before, the asset management strategy must take on this responsibility to protect what ecological integrity is left. Thank you.
Oh, Janet, Councillor Devlin has a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you for coming tonight, Janet. In your first address this evening, you noted that council or particular councillors do not have control over these matters, and so I'm curious as to what it is you'd ask this body to do.
That's a very long answer, but
You've got 1 minute, Janet.
I'm really happy because I've been working on this very thing, this very issue for about 20 years. And it's gone from the local level to the state government level to the federal level. And I would like very much to say that what's in these folders is the beginning of an eco-literacy hub from Roseville to Wahroonga, which will use the biodiversity rail corridor not for development, but for the integrity, restoring the integrity of what we had. I mean, I wasn't born here, but I've done bush care, and I know what has been lost over the years, and it's been lost irreversibly. So this is an attempt, and I've already passed it on to the state government, to use Ku-ring-gai's assets, public assets, to protect what is left. Does that sort of answer? Yeah.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like there's any more questions. Our next speaker is Michael James, who will be, the topic is Norma Griffiths Oval, Progress and Development for the Community.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity. Every football player dreams of playing on a lush green grass football field. For ovals that are on top of a hill or have tree lines further back from the pitch so the shade does not impact the grass, that is a dream for players that can come true. Norman Griffith Oval, however, is in a basin with fantastic trees right up to the edge of the pitch. That makes it a nightmare to consider having a grass pitch again. It will soon be either a dust bowl in dry weather or a mud bath in the wet weather. Either way, it would pose a risk to being unplayable and dangerous to players. Council, over the years, has tried many ways to grow grass on Norman Griffith, with the results of nowhere near being lush. The experts considered that the best option for Norman Griffiths was to make an all-weather synthetic pitch, and that it met all the environmental, economic and social requirements, not to mention its location, accessibility and a small number of nearby residents. Many of the organisations and government departments agreed to the point of providing grants to make the synthetic pitch happen. The Office of Liquor and Gaming thought it was the best option to the tune of a grant of $550,000. The New South Wales Asian Cup Legacy Fund granted $150,000. The New South Wales Government Local Sport Program and Stronger Communities Program thought it was the best option to the tune of a combined $46,000 grant. West Pymble Football Club pledged $100,000 and the Northern Suburbs Football Association thought it was the best option to the tune of a pledge of $125,000. That's a combined funding of over $970,000 outside the Ku-ring-gai Council that thought the all-weather synthetic pitch was the best option for Norman Griffiths. In November 2019, Ku-ring-gai Council also thought the synthetic pitch was the best option for Norman Griffiths by all voting that the synthetic pitch go ahead with an underground detention tank for the permanent flood mitigation. So my question to the council is, will you return the money, the grants and pledges if you return it to a grass pitch? The West Pymble Football Club has now been without this premier field for 3 seasons, impacting the men, women, youth and children of the area. They are all looking forward to the day they can play on the best option for Norman Griffith, the all-weather synthetic pitch all year round. The other sports that are keen for the opportunity to play in this fantastic new facility will be cricket, touch football, local schools, sporting carnivals and sporting teams. Within Ku-ring-gai Bicentennial Park, this will be the jewel of the facility. Ku-ring-gai Council will no doubt be keen to have so many sporting and local residents using the field. I've been a resident of West Pymble for most of my life and have seen the transformation of the original quarry and council dumping ground turned into the fantastic Bicentennial Park with all its diverse activities. I sincerely hope that Ku-ring-gai Council will honour the promise they made to the people of the LGA and complete this best option for Norman Griffiths, an all-weather synthetic pitch. Please get on with it, do it, and don't want to be remembered as the council that didn't hold its promise. Thank you.
Michael, I've just got a question from Councillor Matt Devlin, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Michael. I appreciate your and other players' preference towards synthetic, and I'm certainly not advocating a challenge to your position on that. You noted that there was a combined $975,000 worth of grant contributions. I'd like to note that the original budget allocation was $3.4 million. In the papers published as a part of the late report for public papers for general business item number 1 for March this year, that has been revised to $6.86 million. Just out of curiosity, at what cost do you feel that a project of this nature would become unfeasible?
I can't answer your financial questions on that side of it, but I can say from the previous speakers, the rise in football in the community, the requirement for more grounds, a facility that is not suitable to play on, a facility that's been there for a number of years, an area of the Bicentennial Park size that has so many options for swimming pool, cricket, football, rugby, netball is the ideal location. What prices are put on it is the long-term effect on the community. We're trying to grow the community, be a community that is able to use facilities, and why not be the best facility in the area of having one that is usable all year round for all sports and people to use. So the cost of question, I can't answer that one for you, but I believe if it's $6 million, it's expensive, but it's worth it long term.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Michael, I just apologise. I appreciate that you may not have been qualified for that particular financial question, but I thought I'd ask anyhow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Now, we have one speaker, which is Danielle Evans. It's noted under general business, but it's actually for GB9, which is the planning proposal for 77 Kalgoa Road, Pymble, and Danielle will be speaking against.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for the time. Look, I only found about this evening, so I appreciate it, and I just have 8 points against the rezoning of Kalgoa Road. Number 1 was the lack of consultation for the residents, not consulted or informed of the rezoning proposal. Number 2 is the access and boundary issues. The proximity of the driveway raises concerns about shared access, privacy, noise, and potential boundary questions. Number 3 is privacy and noise. The driveway is very close to the living space, increasing noise, disruption, and loss of privacy. Currently, the driveway is barely wide enough for a van, let alone transport needed for a development. Drainage problems, increased runoff from the driveway may worsen existing drainage and flooding issues. Traffic congestion, additional vehicles will exacerbate already insufficient roadside parking and increased traffic noise. Previous development, I believe, was blocked on this property. I think 2014. I do believe that was the case, indicating the land may not be suitable for housing rezoning. Environmental concerns, the land's topography and drainage issues make it unsuitable for the development, and also the impact on the Blue Gum High Forest. It's the largest surviving remnant and includes the Dalrymple Hay Nature Reserve, which runs adjacent and near Kalgoa, and the proposed development could disrupt the sensitive and valuable ecosystem. So I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Any questions from councillors? No. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for participating in tonight's public forum. The webcast of this forum will be published to Council's website tomorrow. The Council meeting will be held at 7 p.m. next Tuesday, and you are encouraged to attend in person or view the live web stream via the Council website. I encourage you to continue to stay engaged with Council and share your feedback. Thank you again for your participation. I declare the meeting closed at 7:58.